Hi, it's Sarah here from Crafting and Stamping, and I'm here with our October online workshop. So I'm going to now just move the camera, so sorry if it's going to get a little bit wobbly. I'm going to put the camera over my desk so that you'll be able to see what I'm working on. Okay, let's just flip this over and, oops, there we go. And I think it'll have to be that way around. Let's hope I can get this straightened up. Not quite as I'd planned it, but there we go. Right, let's just bring that in a bit closer. There we are. Right, so tonight, as always, I'm going to be making 4 projects, and what we're going to be using tonight, I'm going to be focusing on these papers here, which are the Boughs of Holly DSP, and I'm also going to be working with the lovely Snowflake Specialty Vellum, and they're great papers to have, but of course you can always substitute and use something different. What I wanted, sorry, there we go, turn that off. So I'm wanting to give you some ideas for using these, but like I say, you can substitute with whatever you've got in your stash. So these ideas will very much work with other DSPs. I'm making Christmas items tonight, but similarly, you can choose to do, you could use these exact same papers and do winter birthdays, or you can just, as I say, substitute different papers, use the same layout and create for whatever occasion you need to. So let me just, I'm just wanting to try and figure out, that's a little bit better. Right. So as always, this is an online workshop, which means that it is absolutely free for you to view, but I am hoping that you might purchase from me. I do special offers for anybody who's purchasing with me by Sunday of this week. If you spend any amount at all with me, then you will always get a thank you card in the post. If your order is over £30, then as well as the thank you card, you're also going to get the ideas tutorial bundle, and I've not brought my card up for this month, but the ideas tutorial bundle is a bundle put together by a set of demonstrators, including myself, but demonstrators from around the world each month. If your order is over £50, then as well as that thank you card, as well as the tutorial bundle, you're going to get this make and take pack, this exact same pack that I'm using tonight. You'll be able to refer back to the video to be able to make these cards, etc. And you'll also get a PDF just explaining briefly how to put them together. They are simple cards. The idea is that these are projects that are simple enough for a beginner to be able to work along with. If you're a more experienced crafter, then add a little bit more of your own flair. Please, don't feel you've got to do this exact same thing. Please don't feel that these are too simple. You can always step them up. You can add some colouring. You can add other techniques. You can add embellishments. These are just a jumping off point. If your order is over £70, then as well as the thank you card, as well as the tutorial bundle, as well as the make and take pack that we've got here, you are also going to get 24 sheets of 6x6 DSP. Yes, it's retired, but it will be a mix of different patterns. You'll get some Christmas in there, you'll get some year-round in there as well, and a few sheets of specialty papers as well. So you'll be able to follow along and make more of these same projects with those papers, that paper pack, if your order's over £70. So I'm going to get started now. We're going to be, first of all, using these two items. And I've used the poinsettia papers. Now, let me just show you the papers in this pack. I've got limited amounts of some of them because I've got lots of everything when we first start out. And then as we get further into the catalogue, I start to get things used up. So we've got some lovely greens in mixes of different greens on one side. And then you've got these wonderful sort of abstract patterns on the other side. So we've got these leaves and trees here, and we've also got 3 poinsettia designs here. So we've got a large poinsettia, a smaller one, and then the poinsettia on a white background. And again, you've got different patterns on the other side. So what I've decided to do for tonight is mix these two designs. So we're using the large one for the card and we're using the smaller one for the bag. So I'm going to put that to one side for now, but I will just draw your attention to the fact that these little trimmings here come from the same die set that we're using for this, which is the Pretty Pillowbox die. And this is the Pillowbox die itself. And as I say, we're using these elements here. So I've used this one for that green background there, this one for the white label, and then we've got 2 different sizes of flower here that you can layer together. So it's a really brilliant pack. This is in the annual catalogue. This is carried forward from last year. We had this last year, and you can see it's here in with the dies. So that's £32 for the die set. And like I say, I've got a lot of use out of it, so I'm going to show you some ideas with it tonight. Now, where did I put my cards? Finished cards, here we are. So this is what we're making, but I'm going to just point out a few different things that you can do. So we've got, let me just move that there, we've got a tiny little rhinestone that I'm going to be using. Like I said, we've got 2 different sizes of the flower that we're going to be able to layer up. We've got a little trim. This is from, let me bring the other catalogue back. This is what we've been using for the last couple of workshops actually. I've been using a fair amount of this because a little bit goes a very long way. So this is from the Glimmer Specialty Paper Pack. Now, I'm using that to just add a little bit of glitz. The scarf off. But you could, of course, just use some ordinary card. So with this particular one, all I did was add that glimmer paper down the side like that. And I made the width just a tiny bit smaller than the width of the glimmer paper. But what I'm going to do for this card is just bring out the paper trimmer. And I'm just going to cut off, I think we'll go with 1 inch. Yeah. So I'm going to cut an inch from the front of the card and then just flip it over like that. So let me take out the insert and just put that to one side. And so I'm going to pop that down like that, and then that like that. So I want to get those nice and central on there. So I'm going to use my stamp and seal for this, but use whatever adhesive you prefer. So I want to get that sort of even sides and top and bottom. It's possibly a little bit wider top and bottom, and then we'll add a little bit there, and I'm going to just turn that around. There's just a little bit of a grooved edge on that paper. Get that lined up, as long as it's fairly straight with that edge. We don't need to worry too much because we're going to pop that over the top like that. And for this I'm actually going to use wet glue. I could go with Stamp and Seal Plus, sorry, the Seal Plus, not Stamp and Seal, but I'll use wet glue because it allows me to slide this then into place. So I just want to avoid getting glue all over my fingers. And I'm going to pop this on, use my grid paper in the background to see that I've got that straight. And there we are. Now, for this I'm going to use the Season's Greetings from Merriest Moment. Obviously you can mix and match as much as you want. I quite like this because I'm using poinsettias. We've also got these poinsettias here. We've got some great greetings here. So if I wanted to, I could also add some poinsettias on the inside stamped. That's not what I'm actually planning on doing tonight, but it's another option for you. So I'm going to use Cherry Cobbler because this red in here is Cherry Cobbler, and it's Evening Evergreen for the green. Don't worry too much if your ink pad's a bit like this. I've had these ink pads for a long time, and there's something about the Cherry Cobbler that it oxidizes with the air and creates this sort of goldy sort of colour. It doesn't stop stamping properly, so don't worry. You just need to re-ink every so often with an ink refill. There we are. So I'll just pop that to one side to dry for a second. Hi Lynn, I can see that you're watching. Thanks for stopping by. Right, so while that's drying, I'm just going to pop these together. I'm just going to use my block to do so. And I'm just bending all the petals just a little bit to give it a little bit of dimension. You could curl them around a bone folder if you wanted to. So I'm doing it like this so I can just pop a spot, it is only a spot of glue in the centre like that. If it squidges out, it's not going to stick to my block. So I want to offset these petals. So I'm just going to squish that down a little bit, and that can be left to dry for a few seconds. Now I'm going to add my sentiment, and I probably have gone a bit too far at one side, a little bit too far. again, to help me, I'm just going to pop that on there so I can see what I'm doing, and I want to have even amounts overlapping at either end like that. Now I'm going to use some dimensionals to pop this up. Like that. And we'll pop that. I'm good to go about there. And again, just another dab of glue on the back of here, like that. If you've not got the take a pick tool that I'm using to just push this down, then you can just use a pencil, don't worry. It's just something to be able to push it down on there. Go back to my take a pick tool, because I want that now for just peeling off my iridescent rhinestone. So this is adhesive backed, and that will just go on there like that. Press it down to make sure it's nicely bonded. Lid back on my glue. There we are. So that is that bit of it. And then for the insert, I'm going to use one of these. I think I'll go with, what shall we say, A Joyful Christmas to You and Yours, I think I'll have on this one. And there we are. Because this is a photo polymer set, I want to have a mat behind to help me give a nice even impression when I'm stamping. If you're using the rubber stamps, then that's already got cushioning built in, but these photo polymer stamps don't have that cushioning. So it helps you get a nice even stamping if you use the mat. So, and I use the deluxe foam mat that you can get to go in the Stamparatus because it gives me the grid behind, and it's just really handy to be able to wipe clean as well. So there we are. I've got a little piece of the same paper from the front, and basically this was cut to 5.5, so it leaves a 1/2 inch over if you're using a 6-inch piece, which is a normal amount to use. Whether you're using 12 by 12 paper or 6 by 6, it's a handy measurement. And so I'm just going to pop that leftover strip of DSP from the front along the base like that. And pop that inside like that. So if you, as I said, if you were doing this as a birthday card, then you could have a birthday greeting here. You could similarly choose different patterns of paper, and this, although I'm sort of using it here as a poinsettia, it could be any flower. So don't feel that just because I'm using it as a poinsettia that is what it's got to be. Like I say, this could be switched up to be a birthday card quite easily. So that is our first card tonight, And now, like I say, I'm going to bring in, well, I remember where I put things. That's it, I think. So I'm bringing in the smaller pattern. Like I said, we're using the large one for the card front and then the smaller one for the pillow box. I've already cut out the pillow box. Again, we've got that tiny little rhinestone that's going to go in our poinsettia. And it's already cut for us, the pillow box. I've also used that same die set to cut out the little flowers and also the little tag. Now, I don't know how well you can see this. Let's see if I can bring it up so that you can see, but it puts some stitching on the lid there. Let me just bring back in. I've used the extra die here to cut out the holes here, and then I worked out where they needed to be and cut them out as well here, and that then allows me to thread ribbon through to use it to close. You don't need to do that if you're not worried about being able to open and close it. So what we're making is this little box here, and I probably should have trimmed my ribbon, but with this little box you can open it up like this and open it and pop your things inside. Now, the other thing that I've done with this particular one is actually leave it with these sides not stuck down, so that if you prefer to, you can actually make it up, fasten it, and then fill it from the side. It's only a small box. It's not going to hold an awful lot of, for example, sweet treats, but it could be a nice way to present cash or a cheque. You could fold that up and pop that in here. You could even put possibly a gift card in. I should have picked up a gift card so I could double check whether that fits, but you're not going to get a heck of a lot in this. So like I say, this is already die cut out for you, and the die also puts in score lines. So there's one there for the lid. I'm going to get my bone folder and just reinforce that, and then there's one there across the centre, as it were, to fold up. So we've got the bottom of it and we've got the top of it. Now these ones are on a curve, so what I prefer to do for these, it's a bit difficult to use a bone folder for them. I prefer to just use my finger and thumb to pinch around the oval. And that's pretty much what you need to do. Just follow it around. Like that. So there we are. Now, a little tip, if you're making boxes and things, it's a good idea to tuck the back in first so that the front overlaps like that. It just gives a nicer finish, but you're not seeing open edges. If I was to do it that way, and if you've got any gapping, it's going to be quite noticeable from the front. So best to tuck it in that way round. Now for the ribbon, to put this ribbon on, what we're going to do is thread it through the front first. And this is our evening evergreen ribbon. So again, it's going with the colours that are in this. And I guess I'm going to tuck those in first and then thread this through the lid. If you want to stick the sides, you can. Like I say, I'm leaving them open in case I decide that I've got this all nice and tidy and I don't want to spoil what I've done. Now we just sometimes need to tease out that fold a little bit. There we are. Right, so I'm going to do these like I did last time. I grab a block and just stick these together. And I made one of these little pillow boxes last month, the month before, for my mum, using the Texture Chic Specialty DSP with the lovely gold in it. And I can tell you that this pillow box, a Pretty Pillowbox, looks lovely in any sort of colour DSP. It really works ever so well. Right, so I'm going to let that dry. So we've got our little tag here. If you want to stamp it, you can. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it and, like I say, pop the little flower on. So for myself, when I do bows, I make 2 loops, 2 bunny ears, cross them over and pass through, and that makes me my bow. Then I can just move that around that way, grab some snips, and if you want to, you can fold the ribbon. This might not work too well because I need to clean my scissors, and snip from the centre out, and it will give you 2 little tails. So again, fold, snip from the centre, and there you have the 2 little tails. And I'm going to put my little rhinestone again in the centre of here. So this gives us a matching pillow box to go with that card. And again, dab of glue on the back. Move that out of the way. And just going to stick that onto my tag like that. So that we then have, and I keep losing my, that's the one I did previously. I can't find tonight. Where's tonight's gone? I'll find that in a bit. So there we have our little pillow box to go with the card. Right, so moving on. So I'm going to be using the lovely Snowflake Vellum. And again, let me bring in the vellums to show you, if I can. So there are 2 different types of vellum in this pack. and I'll have a look in a minute and see what we've got. So we've got a white flocked vellum, and we've got an iridescent sheen vellum, and you get the same pattern in each of the flocked and the iridescent. So we've got those snowflakes, we've got these snowflakes, a different one. I've got a few extra sheets in here because I've mixed and matched. And then we've got these. So what I have done, move those aside. I've used the iridescent here to be able to demonstrate for you what we're going to be making. But in the kit that I'll be sending out, it's actually the flocked one. So you can see that you can make this same card with either one. And similarly, you could, if you wanted to, have used the other snowflake patterns instead. And again, I just wanted to show you, this is bringing back, this is a stamp set that we had last year that has returned this year, and we've got a punch as well. This is Penguin Place stamp set and punch. So for the card that I've already made to demonstrate, to show you, I've actually used the stamps. I used the Penguin Place stamp, and I stamped my little penguin, and I stamped his feet on there, and I stamped him a little beak, and I used it as well for the greeting. I can't send stamped images, it's part of the Stampin' Up policy. So what you will get instead is the punched penguin, and I'm going to show you how you put the punched penguin together tonight. So what I've done is I've punched this piece from black card, and this piece, which is his body, is the inner body, as it were, his front, from basic white card. And then I've punched two little feet from Mango Melody card. Of course, you could use pumpkin pie or whatever you happen to prefer. I've used stitched rectangles for this, but if you've not got stitched rectangle dies, you can just use ordinary rectangles. This is something quite nice and easy to be able to put together. It's quite good for mass producing. Like I said, you're going to get the iridescent and the flocked in a pack of the vellum, and you get one sheet of each of those vellums. Bring that in. So you get 6 sheets total, and you can get 6 card fronts plus a little bit extra out of each of these sheets of 12 by 12. So those little scraps of extra, just little pieces, possibly like this, that you could put across a card as well. So lots to be able to put this together as a mass-produced project if you wish to. I've also used the little elements here for the eyes, and I've actually on this occasion used the classic matte dots, but you could also use the matte black dots. I'd go for the smaller ones of these. The big ones are probably a little bit too big. So either classic matte dots or matte black dots would both work fine for the eyes. So I'm going to use a sentiment from here. I'm going to use the Season's Greetings as I did before. And I just want to get a block. Again, let me get my mat. And I'm going to stamp this first. I'm using Memento black ink. Just ink it up a few times, and then I'm going to stamp this down here like that. There we go. Right, now I'm just going to set that aside. I like to leave things to just dry a little so that I've got less chance of smudging them. Want to give you a little tip with this. What I'm going to do is just turn this over, pop it that side down, over the top of my black piece so that I can see it. Then I'm going to use that as a guide for where I want to put my stamping seal. It will make sense as I put this together. So I've got that on. Now I'm going to turn that over and put that on my card front like that. Now the reason I've done it like that, can you see? The adhesive shows through. It's very difficult to find an adhesive that doesn't show through vellum. So by doing it like that, I can now finish putting this together and pop that over the top, and you don't know that there's adhesive behind it. So it does leave this loose all around. If that bothers you, then what you can do is pop a little glue dot behind each one of these, but then you're probably going to need to put some rhinestone or dot or something over the top, because again, a mini glue dot will show through. But I'm quite happy that it's well held down. That shouldn't come off. So that's all good for me. So I'm going to pop this now on here. I'm going to adhere this direct because we are going to put a bit of dimension on, but I don't want it, oops, it's not very straight, there we go. I don't want it to be two-dimensional, as it were. So I'm going to now pop this body on. Like that. So I'm going to use some dimensionals on the back of here and pop this up on the card front. If you've not got the penguin, then you can still do a version of this card with possibly the gnomes. If you've gone for the gnomes this year, they'd look great. But it doesn't even have to be sort of an animal. You could maybe go for snowflakes, or you could just go for a bolder statement, a bolder sentiment, a larger one. Right, so I'm now going to use some mini dimensionals on the back of his tiny little feet. You could put these on direct, but I'm going to use dimensionals, mini dimensionals. But like I say, you can adhere them direct if you want to not end up with too many layers. And I'm going to pop him up as well. this may be too many layers for going through the post, so you would just need to check. And the stamped one, of course, is only a couple of layers. I'll bring this one back in. We've got a layer here with dimensionals and a layer here with dimensionals, and all the other ones are flat. So now I'm going to just get the dots, and you just want them to sort of be in the centre of these two lobes. I'm not going to stick to my fingers. And if you need to move it over a little bit, move and press like that. He's not got a beak. If you wanted to, you could colour one on, but I'm happy enough that you can tell that that is a penguin. So for the insert, again, I used the stamp set, and if you've got the stamp set, you could stamp his beak on easy. And I'm going to go with that one and that one. And of course you've got various different ones. If you wanted to, you could have stamped him a hat. You could stamp it and cut it out. Same with the scarf, layer things up over the top. Or you could stamp onto the background and just have him popped up. So a few different options that you've got there. Lots of different options, to be honest, with this. So I'm going to just lay that down and pick that up. And I've got a little gift, and I'm going to use the Memento black ink again for this, and because it's photopolymer, grab this as well. So I just want to, hi, I can see a few other people have joined. Thank you for stopping by. It's only when I stand up and see the top of my phone that I see that there's other people on here with us. So thank you. So I'm going to just ink that a few times, and I'm going to stamp that in the bottom corner like that. And of course, if you get the kit from me, like I say, there's no stamped images, but you can use your own sentiments however you wish. You will still get the little punched out penguin to use on the front, but you'll need to add your own sentiments. So there we are. Get that lined up. Centre loop on there, and just flip it over and press from the back so that you don't smudge your ink. So you can see now the difference between the flocked one and the iridescent one. And if I just bring those up a little bit closer, you can see a bit better what the difference is. So that's our little penguin one. So final card tonight. Here we go. And what we're making with this, I think this one might be a bit too plain for me, so I'm going to just change this up a little. But what we've got here, let me show you, and this is something that you can do with, again, any DSP, any card. If you get my card kit, you might want to use this as a template to be able to cut for card fronts with different coloured cards. It is just a strip of card that I've then put on and just cut the sides off. So it's really pretty easy to do. And to decorate it, I've used Brightest Glow stamp set. Again, any sentiment set will work. And I'm using Night of Navy. This is Night of Navy card and Balmy Blue. And it's one of those sort of contemporary colour schemes, so you could use anything that appeals to you. You could use shades of purple, shades of pink, really whatever your preference is. Now, I'm going to stamp this. I've just laid this out so that I can see where to stamp on here. If you're worried that you might get this wrong, then you've got different choices. You can stamp up here at the top. You could stamp onto a strip of white and then pop it over. It won't be included in the pack, but if you've got, I'm sure you'll have got some white cardstock. Stamp it onto a strip of white, pop it on and trim off the edges. You could stamp it onto some card and punch it out and pop the punched shape over here. But I'll show you, like I say, I've just laid that down so that it's acting as a guide for me. Ink up my Season's Greetings, which is a bit, the ink pad is a bit juicy, but that's fine. And I'm going to stamp it there like that. And what I can do, if I wish, is just move that up a little bit when I stick that on. Doesn't have to be all the way down to the corner, but it's given me a line for where I want to be. Now, like I said, I found that a little bit too plain, so I'm going to bring in as well the Christmas lights. And I'm going to use some of these little snowflake and stars. And actually I've not taken the backings off. I've not used these little ones yet, so these don't have backings on them. Not to worry. So let's just take that off there. And so I'm going to stamp. You could just leave it at this, and I may do, we'll see. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Could use the little ones, but I'm not going to. So that's going to do me fine. Like I say, you could replicate this with all sorts of things, because while we're using the vellum on here, you could use any other sort of DSP on here. So next bit, I'm just going to stick this on, and I do recommend using the wet glue again, so that we've just got a bit of time to slide it into position. So I tend to put my glue around the edges and then some in the centre, and then, like I say, I just want to pop it down and slide it into place. Make sure that it's on straight edges. There we are, like that. Now for the vellum piece, what I recommend is pre-folding it. So pop it on, get it lined up parallel with these card edges, like that, and then there we go. Just need a bit of help getting that. fold it over, and I just use a bone folder to hold it in place, because this vellum is quite a strong card. So, I say card, it is a card weight vellum. Right, so I've got that roughly in position now, and I might need to just, this is why it's worth just hanging on a second, because I think that one needed just folding over a little bit more, like that. And then I can use, where's my tear and tape? I've got some tear and tape here. Yeah. I'm going to use some tear and tape on here to just hold this down. So I'll pop that on there. And on there. And we'll peel the backing off, and then I'm going to just turn it over and make sure that it's slipped a little bit, so I want to make sure again that's nice and sort of central with that. Like that, and fasten that down. This, like I say, the vellum is really strong. It's a really strong card. There. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use more tear and tape, and that then holds that vellum down, as well as giving me adhesive for this to go on the front of the card. It's not often I use tear and tape for my card fronts. No reason why not. I just find that most of the time a less strong adhesive works just as well. But with that, like I say, that vellum has got some real pull to it. So I'm going to make sure that it's well secured, well anchored. It's not going to come loose. So we've got a Night of Navy card base. And then I'm going to pop that on there, like that. Just take the insert out of the way and press down from the back so that you don't mess anything up on the front. Now we're using iridescent rhinestones because that goes really well with the iridescent snowflakes, and I'm just going to find a few little spots to pop the centres of my big snowflakes here. And you get different sizes of these, but I'll just be including the large ones with this kit. If you're doing this at home with your own supplies, you might want to go with a different size. And I'm popping them on these stamped snowflakes too. There, like that. So that is our card front. Looks just a little bit different because I've added those snowflakes. And then for the insert, let me show you. Oops. I've used the snowflake stamp that was used on the front and the Merry Christmas from here. Now, to do this, let me bring it in. I stamped this, and what I do, where's my Night of Navy gone? There. So it's red rubber, so I don't need the matte this time. I do need to be careful because I've got some navy ink. So I'm going to pop it so that it overhangs a little bit. I'm lining up my straight bit of the snowflake with the edge of the card, and I'm starting in the centre. And then I'm going to rotate it so that these two little edges of the snowflake go to either side of the one we've just stamped. And if it wasn't quite the centre, it's not going to matter. It's still going to give us a pleasing look. So I'm going straight again. In between. And you can see I've left a little bit more space there. Didn't mean to, but it's good enough. And that gives us our border. Then ink up my sentiment, and we'll stamp that. So it's worth just keeping in mind that you can use your stamps to create borders, and while we've used it as a border on an insert here, you could do that as a border on a card front as well. Right, so let's put this together now. And hopefully this isn't, I want to press it down first to make sure that we didn't smudge anything. Put that down, flip it over and press from the back so that I don't smudge my ink, because I know that my Night of Navy is a juicy ink pad. So there we are, we've got, where are my projects? So we've got our vellum diagonal banner across. We've got our vellum as a background for our little penguin. We have, and I don't know where my other one's gone. The one, of course, we have the one where I flipped over the paper. This paper that I've been sharing, and then we've got our little box. Where's my little box gone? No, can't find that. Mislaid it. So let me bring in the other one. It's undone, but there's our little box. So, like I said, if you want to place an order, that would be wonderful. And as I say, any size order, you will get a thank you card from me. If your order is over £30, then you'll get the thank you card and the tutorial bundle. If it's over £50, you're also going to get this make and take pack. So you will get a pack like this for you to be able to make these yourself. And if your order is over £70, then you're also going to get a pack of 6x6. That's it's 6 inches by 6 inches DSP, 24 sheets of that, to be able to create your own cards. So I hope that this is giving you some ideas, not only for using the supplies that I've shown you tonight, the lovely Snowflake Vellum and these pretty papers here, but hopefully it's given you ideas for what you've already got in your stash, to be able to use these layouts in the same sort of way, and use whatever you have got in your craft cupboard. So I will be back as always on the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m, and I hope to see you then. Thank you for stopping by.